Hello, it's Brenda. It's been a long time since January, I think, and I lost some subscribers. I guess that's what happens when you don't post. So I really don't have much of an excuse other than I was busy with life. I got sidetracked. Then the quarantine happened. That's another whole video. But I did get a request for a true crime video, and I thought that was really amazing because actually I spend most of my time online doing three things: watching haunted videos, conspiracy videos, or true crime videos, or reading, not just necessarily watching videos. So one case that really gripped me, I mean, to the point that I literally was crying, just kind of reading it and watching it, was the case of, or is a case because it's still ongoing, of Gannon Stauch. Now, I have seen it pronounced Stauch and Stauch. It's Stouch, but I believe the proper pronunciation is Stauch. At any rate, I'm actually surprised that this story isn't getting more publicity than it is. I mean, you can go online and there is a ton of armchair detectives and, people putting out information, but kind of like in the actual mainstream news, I'm not seeing as much as you would think that it would generate, but he is from Colorado, or was, because he has been found deceased. And Gannon had a rough start. He was born at only 1 pound, like 5 ounces. And I think one of the reasons that this story just really just deflated my soul, Gannon reminds me so much of my middle son, who is 10 years old. They both had a lot of the same physical features, kind of that little bit of olivey skin, the dark hair, those like teeth that were just like a little too big for his face, like he was still growing into them, like exactly like my son. And I just wanted to squeeze his little face. He was so adorable, and like any child his age, loved video games. He was learning how to code. He loved joking around. I mean, literally my son, and probably most of yours if you have a child in that age range. So little Gannon had a little bit of a rough start because his mom and dad separated. There is a younger sister, by the way. And 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 I'm going to tread lightly here because nobody deserves what this bio mom has gone through, and her anguish is palpable when you watch her on television. And so I don't want to disrespect her in any way or add to her pain should she or any of her family members ever see this video. But there may have been some drugs and there may have been some other issues that kind of led to why Gannon was living with dad and his stepmom at the time of his disappearance, and ultimately we know his murder. So I'm just going to leave that right there because I don't want to touch on that too much. And also anything that I say is just what I have read or what I have watched. And so I can't say 1,000% that anything is true or not true, but this is just the information that I have gathered up and I'm passing on to you to kind of do what you will with. Believe it, research it, whatever you want to do. So Gannon is living in Colorado at this point with his dad and his stepmom, his younger sister, and then his older stepsister, who's 17 at this point, I believe. And dad is in the military. Now, I think it might have been like a reserves kind of thing. So I think he was home most of the time, but at the time of his disappearance, he was not at home. He was off taking care of that. So he's home alone with stepmom and little sister and older stepsister. The night before his disappearance, there's an incident in the home. And let's stop right here for a second. What his stepmom, whose name is Tisha, goes by T at times, what her relationship was to the two children that were not biologically hers is really unclear. I mean, I read in depth and I couldn't get a lot of information, people that may have known them previously to talk about what their relationship was. Did she seem to care for the children? Did she seem annoyed that she had to take care of these children? It was just really unclear. But what we do know is that there's an incident before his disappearance. This incident, apparently, Gannon allegedly knocks over a candle accidentally, and wax gets on the carpet. And this is a huge thing. I'm going to try to drop a link to, you're going to love this, a cell phone video that stepmom accidentally records that night where she's just, talking to Gannon and kind of talking about the incident. And we're going to get into that because there's some weirdness with that. So the incident happens and she's irate. She's very upset. Now, let's stop right there. Let's forget about the fact that we now know that she allegedly kills him. Let's forget all that for a second and just focus on this incident as though none of that is a thing. Like, we don't know any of that. I get overreacting. I get sometimes kids do things and you just kind of, you're more irrationally upset about it than probably you should be. So it's not that she freaks out about the candle, because if you have a nice rug and this kid knocks it over, I get you might overreact. But some weird things about it, okay? In this video that she accidentally records, she's saying to him just really weird things like, are you sure you did this by accident? And he's like, yeah, he's really apologetic and he seems really upset. If you listen closely, he then says, I'm bleeding. Is he bleeding because he broke the candle? It's a glass candle. Did he injure himself on the candle? Has she done something to him? Because the video just kind of picks up where she's saying, are you sure you did this by accident? I find that just really bizarre. Like, what was happening and what was being said prior to that? And I can't find nothing about that, even though there was two other kids in the house who surely heard all of this commotion and heard her freaking out. So I don't know what they may or may not have told investigators, but it's almost like maybe before we hear all of that, she's kind of on a rampage, and then maybe she's trying to cover, I don't know, like trying to cover up how bad she freaked out, because she's somewhat calm when she's saying like, Gannon, are you sure that, you did this by accident? Then she goes on apparently telling him that she's going to have to sell things in the house to pay for the rug. This family was by no means struggling. They were not, they lived in a beautiful neighborhood, a very beautiful house. They were not struggling to the point that like you have to go sell something in your house to pay for this rug. I wouldn't think, but who knows? You never know somebody's finances. But weirdly, she says to Gannon that she may have to sell the couch. And poor Gannon's like, oh, I have a 10-year-old. What a weird thing to say to him. My 10-year-old would not care whatsoever if I sold the couch, if I sold the dining room table, the kitchen table, every piece of furniture in the house. He would only care if I sold like his Xbox and maybe his personal TV. Like literally, he just wouldn't care. So what a weird thing to kind of, I don't know, say to kind of make him feel guilty or make him feel bad. I'm going to have to sell the couch. Maybe the couch was like her prized possession, because as adults, we have really odd things that are our prized possessions that a child wouldn't care about. Like for me, it's my dining room table. I love my dining room table. I would be really upset if I had to get rid of it. My kids would not care whatsoever. To them, it's like an inconvenience to be called to the dining room table to eat because, they'd rather be in their room playing Xbox. So was it like a guilt thing? Like, this couch is really important to me, and like, oh no, look, now I'm gonna have to sell the couch because of what you did? Because certainly it couldn't be any other reason. I mean, why would the kid care about the couch? So that's really weird. And I'm going to drop a link if I can, if it's still online, about this accidentally recorded video, because you have to listen carefully, but you do hear him say, "I'm bleeding." And then you really don't hear anything about that. So why was he bleeding? Had she already done something to him? Had she already freaked out and now she's trying to kind of cool things down? Like, oh, you sure it was an accident? Like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It didn't sit right listening to it, and I don't think it's going to sit right when you listen to it. So now fast forward to the next day. Oddly, Gannon wakes up sick and can't go to school. So he doesn't go to school, and yet she runs off, apparently running errands with him. He is seen by a neighbor's surveillance getting into the car around 10 o'clock in the morning on January 27th, and they supposedly go to Play It Again Sports, which is like an hour away. They go to the pet store so she can buy like sweaters for her dog. I don't know, like, your kid is sick and staying home from school, but you're running all these errands. I'm not going to say I've never taken my child on an errand when they've been homesick. Maybe if I didn't have anybody to stay with them and I needed to go to the grocery store because there was something I really needed, maybe, I don't know, medicine, ginger ale, like something that was really important when they were sick. But I don't think I'd be trapezing an hour away for, sports equipment and dog sweaters. The surveillance from inside the pet store shows that she was in the pet store alone. But apparently she did keep going to the door and looking out the window. So maybe she was checking on him. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he really was sick and I don't know. That's just weird to me. She returns home at approximately 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That same neighbor's video surveillance does not show him getting out of the car, but it hasn't been ruled out because he could have possibly exited on the other side of the car and just wasn't visible. Now, at this point, she says around 3 o'clock, he leaves to go to a friend's house. This is quite an active day for a sick little boy, let me say that. Also, the weather was very cold and snowy. So you're telling me that this child stayed home from school sick and now he's walking around in the neighborhood to go to a friend's house. I don't know. I guess people parent differently, but a little strange. So, and again, not that my child has never pulled the "I feel much better, can I go outside" thing, but the weather was terrible. He's been on the go all day, even though he's been sick. But okay, supposedly he goes to a friend's house and he never comes home. When she contacts dad, when she reports it to the police, she reports him as a runaway. An 11-year-old that hasn't returned home from a friend's house is automatically a runaway in your mind as his stepmom, not, oh my God, somebody took him, maybe there's been an accident, because he did have a cell phone, but apparently left it at home. That, I don't know. I guess at that age, that could go either way. I have a 10-year-old and I have a 13-year-old, and they won't even go to the bathroom without their phone. But I guess that's kind of a young age, so maybe he doesn't necessarily have it with him all the time. If he was sick and going out into the bad weather to go visit a friend, I would make sure that he had his cell phone, but, that's whatever. So she reports him as a runaway. I find that a little bit strange. So again, what are the dynamics at home that you would assume that this child was a runaway? Because I have 3 children living at home, and I wouldn't assume any of them, even the 13-year-old, ran away. I would assume that something terrible had happened. So there had to be some kind of dynamic that would make you even say that is even even a possibility. The next day, so now we're on the 28th of January, stepmom rents a car. She has a car. The next day she rents a car. And she picks up dad from the airport. The reason she gives for why she's rented this car is so they can go look for Gannon, and he wouldn't recognize the car, so they'd have a better chance of seeing him because he wouldn't like run if he saw the car. Like, how bad is your home life? You can't even look for your child in your own car because if he recognizes it, he's gonna run from you. Weird, right? So she says, oh no, like we thought he might think he's in trouble, so we just wanted a car that he wouldn't recognize. To me, I was like, okay, come on now. That's like going above and beyond, right? Like, I can't find my kid. He's only 11. He's been out in this horrible Colorado winter weather all night, but like I'm going to go through all the trouble of going and renting a car and doing all of this so I can like go look for him. No, I'm just going to like run out the door and look for him. Like that's, I don't know, weird. So at this point, time goes by. There's no sign of Gannon. Social media is blowing up. The families are fighting back and forth. I'm so sorry. My dogs are losing it right now. I think the trash man is coming and they're just like losing their mind. So stepmom does a series of interviews on TV. I will try to also link those because you're going to be like, what? She goes on and on and on in this interview, specifically one interview that really just like, I was mesmerized by it, where all she does is talk about how when Gannon is found, everybody's going to owe her an apology. It was all about Tisha, like nothing about poor Gannon, who's like missing at this point for like a month. It's all about how people are bullying her on social media, which by the way, she has since deleted, well, she's in jail now, but somebody has deleted her accounts. But right up until the end, this woman was on social media, just never took a breath, was always ranting and raving and fighting with people. So no, you weren't being bullied. You were an active participant. You were completely narcissistic in all of your posts. It was all about you. Nothing was ever about Gannon. It was all about how you were being mistreated, how people were bullying you and speculating on things that you had said. When the interviewer asked her what do you, I don't remember exactly how it was said, like not what do you miss the most about Gannon, but like tell us something about Gannon or, you know, something. Remember, this little boy, 11 years old, without a trace, has vanished. You don't know where he is. You've been his mom for years at this point, and the only thing that you could come up with to say was he was really helpful around the house. Not he was sweet, he was lovable, he was funny, you know, I just loved him so much, I miss him so. He was helpful around the house. I feel like that's a window into their home life because that's pretty much all you could come up with about this poor kid. So people are on it at this point. They're like, this woman has done something to him. Well, she ends up leaving and going back to South Carolina, which I believe is where she's from. And she ultimately ends up arrested on March 2nd and extradited back to Colorado. Get this, without a body. They have not found the child at this point, but they arrest her. So I'm not a detective, but like they had to have some really compelling and strong circumstantial evidence in the least to actually arrest her without a body. She maintained her innocence. Her family actually was pretty supportive of her. Pretty much the public and the biological mom's family and even dad at this point had just completely washed their hands of it. His body was found. His body was found 2 months after his disappearance in Florida in a suitcase in kind of like a ravine area. And horribly, when information came out, she was charged with first-degree murder. She had a slew of charges. Everything from tampering with a dead body to felony child abuse leading to murder. It was indicated that a knife, a gun, and a blunt object were used in the murder of this child. When they went and they searched, they had found traces of blood. Well, initially they had found traces of blood in his room, just like a little saucer size, but she had claimed that he had hurt his foot in the workshop or the shed where he would often work with his dad, and that she bandaged it up and he was fine. But what they actually found later, when they did a full search, was blood had soaked through his mattress. And please fast forward if this is too much for you. I mean, this is a child. Through his mattress, through the rug mat, and straight into the concrete. Something heinous took place in his bedroom. You know, that stuff that they spray and they put out the lights to look for traces of blood. They were able to trace the blood in his room, down the hallway, and straight out into the garage, where it's believed that she then put the body in the car, her car. So now the weird thing is they believe all of this happened on the 27th, the day that he was reported missing. However, and no disrespect to law enforcement, because thank God that they stayed on this and they saw through all of her lies, but it's really weird to me. That would mean that when she called the police and reported him as a runaway and they came to the house, that he was in her car, hidden in her car. Like, that's ballsy, and that's a chance to take, if in fact that's what happened. Law enforcement believes that he did return home with her on the 27th, even though he wasn't visible on the neighbor's video, that he maybe got out the other side, and that it took place at some time around 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon after they got home. I think he was reported missing around 6. That's like a short, I mean, I guess that's like a long time, but that feels like a short time to flip out, I don't know, murder a child, hide his body, and clean up such a horrific crime scene. And the younger child came home from school. Like, what time do they come home from school? It can't be that late. And apparently she sent her outside to go play, and it was believed that she was cleaning up. Her daughter, Harley, who is 17 years old, apparently at some point returns or calls mom, says she's coming home, and mom sends her to like the Dollar Tree or the dollar store with the younger stepsister, and then also asks her to get some rug cleaner, garbage bags, and baking soda. Like, but from the dollar store? Like, you're gonna clean up like a whole crime scene with some dollar store products? I don't know. So many things about that timeline just, I don't know, kind of leads me just like really wondering if that's accurate. But at any rate, what do you think? Do you think something actually happened the night before? And does that mean the other kids know about it? I mean, the little one is Gannon's like full sister, so I mean, she's young though, but like whatever she saw, like has she disclosed it? Did she injure him the night before and the next day she realizes she's injured him too much, or he's going to tell his dad and she's got to finish him off, or is she still fuming about the stupid candle and I don't know, maybe she goes into a rage again? We've all done that. Like, well, we don't all go into a rage and like, I don't know, kill children, but like, you know, like when something happens and then you kind of like, just like let it go, but then like you bring it up again and you work yourself up again. That's what I mean. So like, did she still kind of like mull over it all night and the next day, and then she starts in about the damn candle again, and things get too far. I don't know. So many questions. And why so many murder weapons? He's an 11-year-old little kid. I mean, a gun, a knife, and a blunt object? I don't know. I don't know. So, I don't know. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me what you think could have happened. Again, I'm going to try to put those links down below. And, again, no disrespect to the bio mom. Whatever did or didn't happen in the past, we all grieve with her. Dad, oh my gosh, like I was pained for this man because he trusted this woman. He was living with her, sleeping in the same bed with her, and trusting his children to her. And, while he's off, in the military, like, being this upstanding person and, helping out his country and assuming his children is safe, his little boy went through the most horrific ordeal and lost his life at the hands of the woman that he married. And I can't even imagine the burden that has to be for him. And Tisha is charismatic. I mean, you just got to watch her. You've got to watch this woman. She can't stop talking, and it's all about her. Hard to believe her motive was really a candle. I mean, her own daughter was grown, so was she just kind of like, she was in a good place financially. She's got this great husband who, is kind of taking care of everything. Is she just feeling burdened with these kids? Is it because Gannon was a boy? Did she not mind having the little girl? I find it hard to believe that all of this happened over one incident. So I would just like to know what their dynamics were in the home. And really, her daughter's 17. She can certainly talk about it, but there's going to be that loyalty to her mom. This is her mom. So we can't really, because some people have kind of been a little bit upset with her for maybe not being public about certain things that could help us in this case, but this is her mom, right? This is her mom. So, and this Tisha person, she has a history. She's actually been arrested before for domestic violence, for simple assault, driving, I don't know, without a license or some other traffic things, but that's like, who cares? And then she's got this weird work history where she was an educated woman. I mean, she had like a master's degree. She'd worked in education, but she'd been fired from like 3 different jobs, and not for like mistreating kids or anything like that in the school system, but for weird things, for like signing contracts with 2 different districts and like bailing out on one after like 2 days, going to another one. Just like, I don't know. She was just like, I don't know. Like, I obviously can't diagnose her, but was she bipolar? Because it seems like she was just kind of really sporadic all over the place. When she talks, she's just kind of really a little bit manic at times, very, very narcissistic. So at any rate, rest in peace, Gannon. Our heart breaks for him, for the whole entire family. You got to go online and you have to read up on this, because it's a lot. It's a lot more than I can compile in this one video. But thanks for listening. I'm really happy to be back. Let me know if you have any other cases that you want to kind of look at together, delve into. Let me know your thoughts on this, what you think the timeline might have been, what you think happened in the home that first night, what you think happened on the 27th. Just what are you thinking about the whole thing? And any other details that I didn't put in there that you think might be relevant, go ahead and let us hear them. So thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.